Welcome, financial professionals. I am Steve Walker, Vice President of Institutional Accounts and partner for E4 Insurance Services, welcoming you to the Brew, building relationships every week. Thanks for tuning in. For those of you joining Brew for the first time, welcome. We like to start the Brewcast by celebrating today's national days. And we've got three really good ones. We'll see if I can kind of combine them together a little bit as we get going here. We've got National Car Wash Day, National Wear Your Pajamas to Work Day, and we have National Banana Day. So as I kind of think through that, I envision, staying in the nice jammies on the way to work, having a banana for breakfast, and then ultimately, like my 12 and 9-year-old, probably spilling some of said banana in the car, so I'll have to go get a car wash and vacuum it out on today's great and glorious day. So, we're continuing April's lineup, focusing on key person and executive benefits. Corey Cox, Regional Director of Business Solutions at Principal, is here to discuss how we can eliminate underwriting hassles if we've got enough lives by utilizing some guaranteed issue underwriting. Corey's also going to be at our BBT, Building Business Together, on Lake Geneva here coming up on April 29th. So make sure, sign up, register, come and see Corey and all of us here at E4. It's going to be a great day. So, Corey, thanks for joining us today. Excited to have you with us here in the Brew studio, talking a little bit key person and executive benefits, and really in this business market, really this guaranteed issue space is something that we here at E4 and a number of our agencies and advisors are really having a ton of luck. So I'm going to maybe just kick it over to you and let's get this party started.
Appreciate it, Steve. I don't know about you, but anytime you can avoid needles and labs exams, I'm going to take that route all day long. So we've got some underwriting, platform solutions to hopefully, avoid those labs or exams. So I'd be remiss if I don't start at least with accelerated underwriting, and then we'll climb into the guaranteed issue suite. But most of you may know, or if you're not aware, Principal was really the first place to implement accelerated underwriting over a decade ago. Fortunately, we hadn't touched that in about a decade in terms of updating that. So we just recently revamped that this year, and everything stays the same in terms of face amount increases, which I'll share on the next screen, but we made things a lot easier there. And then we also have our Business Solutions Enhanced Underwriting Program. And again, we'll dive into this a little bit deeper, but look at that as an extension of accelerated underwriting. So yes, as you see here, it goes up to 50 million. That's 50. But we understand that, those cases are a little more limited, right? So look at the sweet spot on this really being that 3 million to 10 million, because 3 million is kind of the cap for our accelerated underwriting, and Business Solutions Enhanced Underwriting can kind of pick up from where we left off. And this is built towards kind of those higher compensated employees. So they need to be making 150K plus. They need to have had some type of physical or exam done in the past 12 months, which is really a non-issue when you start talking about some of these higher compensated employees, because typically there's something built into their C-suite package that requires them to go have some type of exam done on an annual basis. So that's typically fairly easy to get a hold of. And then just skipping to the end here is the guaranteed issue. And that's for guaranteed issue term and all of our permanent products other than our survivorship. So before we
and real quick, Corey, if you don't mind me going back to that page, I think really just to hit on, because really that Business Solutions Enhanced Underwriting, I know you touched on it. There's a ton of great information, but really would encourage advisors to really understand how that works. As I know we did a case, I think it was last month. I don't remember what it was. It was about 5-6 million. We had an advisor place as part of a buy-sell funding. And again, couple partners. One of them hadn't had the physical in the last 12 months, but one of them did, and that one flew through extremely quickly. So again, Obviously, we're going to get into the fun guaranteed issue here coming up. But again, as Corey mentioned, don't forget about that. Let your case manager at E4 know when we're submitting that ticket that, hey, this could qualify for Business Solutions Enhanced. It's a really slick process.
Yeah, and I think just a quick side note. We're on the topic, right? So yeah, it's as easy as letting the underwriter know at principal, hey, we want to opt into this program. So make sure you don't go out and order any labs or exams or APSs. Let's see what we have or what we're able to get from you first, and then utilize this program. So to your point, Steve, yeah, it's a quick, seamless process, assuming we have those labs or exams, or we're able to get a hold of them, as well as an APS within the past 5 years. So it just, again, it's an expedited underwriting process, and hopefully we can avoid needles in this instance. And again, it's an opt-in program, so it's as simple as letting the underwriter know, hey, we think we have an opportunity here. We've been told that they've been to the doctor recently. Can we look to see if we can utilize the Business Solutions Enhanced Underwriting, or if we love acronyms on the line, BSEU for short. So absolutely. So then, backing up to accelerated underwriting before we step into guaranteed issue, I mentioned that we've revamped this year. For all intents and purposes, and for all folks on the podcast care about, right, is we made it easier, and we made the through rate higher. So as I mentioned previously, we haven't updated this in about 10 years. And if you recall, 10 years ago, we were more in we'll call it the retail market. We've always been in the business market, but now we've kind of doubled down in that market, and that is our bread and butter. But accelerated underwriting didn't really fall into that quite yet, right? With some of the updates that weren't made. Well, we've made updates to that internally. I'm not going to bore you with all the behind the scenes actuarial underwriting algorithms, but there's really, it's like a 10-step process behind the scenes that it can actively be updated. So what does that mean? That means that we want and expect to see a through rate of 50% or higher on this, where, and I'll just be transparent, it was more than the 20% the past couple of years, and nobody wants that, right? You, the advisor, the client, we want to make this as easy as possible. So we made that through rate higher, and we removed some of the mess in the middle. And the mess, by that I mean that digital health data, it wasn't just a principal thing. This is pretty consistent across most carriers, that they just weren't able to get a lot of the information that they thought they were, sometimes because these doctors' offices just, for whatever reason, don't house it in a digital portal. It's kind of all paper. So it just became a headache, or unable to get a hold of it at all. So we've kind of removed that, and it's just two brackets now, up to $3 million to age 40, and up to $2 million to age 60. So two things that you all care about on this call is higher through rate, remove the mess in the middle. So again, if we don't go through this, we'll just pivot to traditional underwriting. But now we are able to offer, standard, super standard, preferred, and super preferred as well.
That's awesome. Like you said, keep it simple.
Yeah, that's right.
More acceptance. That's what we love to see.
Always. Now the fun part, right? It's guaranteed issue, guaranteed issue term, and guaranteed issue permanent. So typically it's 10 or more lives in a group. However, if we have GSI DI, guaranteed standard issue DI, or if the client has group voluntary life or group term with principal, we can go down as low as 5 lives for our guaranteed issue term. We make this process easy. All we need to get started on this is a census. So pretty basic information, name, date of birth, job title, job salary, and then the most important piece is the residential zip code. Because on the life side, when there's term insurance, we're going to do a de-identified prescription check. So as you heard me say, it's de-identified. So we de-identify it, we send it through a Milliman check, and it comes back, pass or fail in terms of the group having a high risk or a low risk. And then we can run formal quotes. We get the approval from you and the client, and then we can start the process of having an onboarding specialist here at Principal walk through the process start to finish, right? So again, this can be done on term, or we can also utilize it on our permanent products. And the permanent products does not require a de-identified prescription check. So that's kind of more, I hesitate calling it a sign and drive like the GSI DI, but it's pretty close, right? And, I'll just share a quick success story that we had recently on a case like this with permanent. There was a company that purchased another company. That company that they purchased, they were offering close to a 16% 401k match originally. The buying company was like, yeah, we can't do that for, you and your C-suite, employees. They came to principal. The client came to principal, and we started talking like, well, yeah, for our 401k team, can't really do that as well. But hey, we've got this thing called guaranteed issue. Let's do it on an IUL product. We'll overfund an IUL product for supplemental retirement income, kind of replace that match, and then do it on a guaranteed issue chassis. So it was around 22 lives, and the premium was close to 180K in annual commissionable premium. So there is a place for guaranteed issue permanent products. Yes, it's going to be more expensive, but it has its place for deferred compensation and recruiting, retaining, and rewarding those key individuals. Where we see the most of it, of course, is guaranteed issue term, especially when it comes to that benefit restoration story. So by that, I mean when you're out with your selling group insurance at a company, right? And let's say, just for simple math, they're capped at $50,000 in term insurance at the company, but you've got 10 employees making $100,000 plus. They are, in essence, being reversely discriminated against because they're not on the same level playing field as those rank and file employees who are being made 100% whole when it comes to their life insurance. Well, we can come and layer on guaranteed issue term and again make them whole. So maybe it's $200,000, $500,000, whatever it needs to be to make sense. Now everyone is at 300% of income replacement. So yes, we can go up to 5 million on guaranteed issue. That it's a multiple of lives, so typically that requires around 67 lives to get to that 5 million. But the sweet spot is that 200,000, which is the minimum, up to $1 million in term insurance is kind of the sweet spot that we see on this platform.
The thing I really like too, Corey, on the GI term, and same thing with the perm. But on the term, especially when you get to those groups that are 20, 30, kind of again that sweet spot middle market, Principal makes it so easy and so customizable. Where I think most of the time when we've done this, it's very infrequent we actually take and the client accepts and runs with that first initial illustration where it's like, okay, good starting point, but let's create this class here, this class there, let's get to this. Again, you can tweak and modify, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's a really good call out, right? This is customizable. So yes, a lot of instances we require 100% participation, but we can design that 100% participation based on job class or salary levels or how long they've been at the company, right? We can be creative in how we define the class that we want to have in a plan like this. So maybe it's, hey, we want to do this plan for all the VPs, right? We can do that. Or, hey, maybe we want to offer $500,000 to all the VPs, but $200,000 to all the managers, right? We can do that. We can be flexible with those plans, and all that takes is just all of us having a conversation and designing these, and it's fairly simple once it gets down to it. All we need is a census to get started, and that's that. And as you see here, some minimal questions, right? Have you actively been at work, or have you missed more than 5 consecutive days in the past 90 days, and then tobacco usage. And to that point, we can go standard or preferred, but that's all done via that de-identified prescription check. So think law of large numbers here, right? The more lives we have, the better chance of these being approved and the better chance of maybe getting that preferred offer. I hesitate putting this out there because after I say this, you guys are going to someone's going to have like a decline group, but we've tested this on over 1,000 groups and it's less than a 3% decline rate. Let me be clear though, right? We're not trying to put uninsurables through this type of plan. So if that happens, of course, we're going to have a decline. But know that when I say de-identified prescription check, we're pretty conservative there. And we do get many approvals in most cases on these.
Absolutely. No, it's a A great program. I know like I said, we've had a lot of advisors with a lot of success, and I know we're coming up probably in the last 5 or so minutes, of our time here today, Corey. Any other big happenings or things that we want to share in the GI space?
Yeah, that's about it. Just knowing that we can do guaranteed issue life and guaranteed issue DI all in the same spot. That benefit restoration story, that's huge here, right? When we're trying to provide asymmetrical benefits for asymmetrical contributors is the way we look at it for those employees at said company, right? Group benefits are fantastic for what they are, right? And that's providing benefits to all the rank and file employees, but in essence, again, we are reversely discriminating against those higher compensated employees, and this is a great way to kind of bring everyone back to a level playing field and recruit, retain, reward all of those individuals, especially in this case, those key employees at said company. So I can't stress it enough, right? All we need to get started is a census, right? And if we don't have 5 or 10 lives, well, let's just look at accelerated underwriting on an individual basis. Last thing I'll leave you with, I get a common question sometimes is, hey, I've got 5 lives and they're all, relatively healthy. Why do I want to do guaranteed issue? We don't have to. We can do accelerated underwriting if you think that they're all perfectly healthy and going to get a better offer, right? But this is just a ease of doing business. We always preach that, right? Like we want to make this as easy as possible. This is all on one, list bill, one bill to the company, nice and clean. Everyone gets the same offer. We can tier it, right? So it just makes things easier. So I can't stress enough at how many plans we've done on the guaranteed issue chassis and at least quoted it. It's a fantastic opportunity to get in front of your clients and put in front of them.
It really is. And one of the, you mentioned, something, and I've got one other kind of quick thing just to hit on with this program. A lot of times when you're having these conversations, you're meeting with those C-suite individuals, those owners. So again, those that Corey mentioned, and I love the way you put it, they're getting reverse discriminated against because of their income levels. So that CFO, CEO, head of this, head of that, they're going to be on that list of saying, hey, your benefits, they're just as good as everybody else, but due to your income level, it's just, the math doesn't make it as valuable at the end of the day. So let's talk about this. In a way that has really resonated well with the producers that we work with, those advisors, rather than coming and saying, hey, Mr. Decision Maker, Mrs. Decision Maker, the monthly or the annual premium for this solution is, X number of dollars. Work with our team here at E4, and we actually will help you kind of back into the number and say, hey, this is, for guarantee, we've got a guaranteed standard issue DI program that we're presenting next Thursday. And the way we're presenting, obviously, they'll see the cost, but they'll also say, hey, this is 0.68% of your payroll. It makes sense for less than 1% to, equal out those top earners. On the GI term side, same thing. Hey, this is 1% of payroll, 0.5% of payroll. It resonates really well with that CFO suite. And last question, I'll maybe kick it to you, Corey, here, so you can explain how awesome this is. For anybody that works with inside of a benefits firm, can you talk a little bit about that book scrubbing that Principal will do when they can look, hey, we've already got the census because we've got the medical or this or that or whatever group benefit that the group already has with Principal. Can you talk a little bit about how our advisors can actively be recruiting or searching for those with Principal ultimately doing the legwork on the front end?
Yeah. I'll make this very simple. We don't need you as the advisor to scrub that census, right? If you have a census, send it Steve's way, send it my way, and we will do that scrubbing for you, right? Because just a few things maybe that if you wanted to do some front end looking is, they need to be making at least $75,000 or more in total compensation. They need to be working 30 plus hours or be full-time employees. Average age of 55, can't be older than 70. But I don't need you to remember all that. If you send us a census, we can scrub that thing almost instantly because we do hundreds of these a year. But you already have that information on the group side, right? There's nothing new that we would ask of you or the HR partner at the firm that they would need to send to us. That's almost always in that census that you have for the group insurance already. So, last thing I'll kind of leave you with too is Principal does this business owner insights report every year. And for the past decade, the number one thing has been, business owner, what's keeps you up at night? What's the most important thing to you? It's always protecting the business. Well, this is it. This is how you protect your business and keep those key employees in-house so that you as the business owner can continue running the ship the way you want it to be ran. So, protection is number one. Again, for the past decade, this is how you can recruit and retain those top employees at your company.
Absolutely, and thank you again, Corey, for joining us. And last thing I'll leave you with before we wrap up here is, if you are at an agency that has a employee benefits division, and there's a block of business you have with Principal, reach out to your RVP here at E4. We can work with Corey and the team at Principal with the okay of the agency. We can actually run a report of your existing group business with Principal, and they'll identify, hey, you've already got group benefits with this group. They would be eligible for GI term or GSI potentially. So we'll help you identify those just with your existing block of Principal group business. So reach out to your RVP here at E4, and we'll work with Corey and the great team at Principal to identify that. So Corey, thank you again. Can't thank you enough for the great partnership we have with you and Principal, and look forward to seeing you here shortly at Lake Geneva at BBT. So,
likewise, looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing everyone.
Excellent. And as we wrap up today, I'd like to remind everybody that today's brew and our entire library of brew casts are recorded and shared on the brew page on our website, www.e4.insurance. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up with all the brewcasts that are released every Wednesday. Next week, we'll continue April's lineup on key person and executive benefits. If you work with business clients, you undoubtedly have some key people, as we've talked about through the month. Join myself and our very own Phil Haug, Senior Vice President of Sales and partner here at E4. Phil and I are going to review and recap some of the opportunities that we've discussed so far this month, keeping it top of mind when you're discussing with these decision makers on how to protect the business from losing its top talent. So again, Corey, thank you. Everybody listening in and watching, thank you for joining, and we'll see you next week on The Brew.